member of the Assembly for Calgary Egmont. Last evening, the provincial treasurer brought down the provincial budget, and so that will be the subject of many of the questions during question period today. After we get through question period and various points of order, if they happen to arise, the Leader of the Opposition will lead off with his response to the budget address of the provincial treasurer. At 12:30, the throne speech debate will come to an end, and that motion approving the throne speech will be passed, no doubt, before the House rises at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Let us pray. O Lord, grant us the daily awareness of the precious gift of life which you have given us. As members of this legislative assembly, we dedicate our lives anew to the service of our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motion. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to file with the Assembly the 1989-90 annual report of the Forest Development Research Trust Fund.
Minister of Public Works Supply and Services.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to table with the Assembly this morning the 27th annual report of the Alberta Racing Commission.
Could you raise the document of that?
Introduction of special guests.
Thank you. The Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure, sir, to introduce to you and through you to members of the Legislative Assembly a group of students from the Pine Street School. They're joined by their teacher, David Harvey, and parents, Penny Smallwood and Dennis Newman. They are in the members' gallery, and I'd ask if they would rise so that they could receive the warm welcome of the Legislative Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted today to introduce a group of young ladies from the Airdrie area. They're called the Airdrie Pathfinders, and they're in to study government today. There are 10 in the group, accompanied by Kathy Unruh, Gail Armstrong, and Marguerite Lambden. I'd like them all to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Education.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure for me today to introduce a delegation of educators from the county of Kent in England. They are visiting Alberta and visiting Calgary, attended their very first hockey game last night, and are going to be cheering for the right team for the next 3 games.
Oh, great.
And they are here today visiting, Mr. Speaker. They are joined by a number of host teachers and educators from the Calgary Board of Education. who will be making a return visit to the County of Kent at the end of the current school year. I'd ask them all to rise, Mr. Speaker, especially the leaders of their two delegations, Keith Jennings and John Eade, and ask them all to rise and receive the very warm welcome of members of the Assembly.
Thank you.
Member for Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce 16 special guests from the riding of Edmonton Highlands. 15 of them are grade 6 students at Newton Elementary School, and they're accompanied today by teacher Dave Lefevre. I'd ask them to rise and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Ministerial statement. Oral question period.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, to our esteemed treasurer, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to Tricky Dicky, they've finally done it.
Magic Johnson.
They've finally done it, Mr. Speaker. Last night's budget. The Tories may be pounding the people of Alberta aren't, Mr. Speaker.
Got that right.
Mr. Speaker,
Got that right.
last night's budget shows the Conservatives have finally turned political deception into an art form.
Yep.
But nobody's buying their picture other than backbenchers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this laughably transparent attempt to fool Albertans is strikingly seen in the ludicrous revenue projections for 1991-92.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, an extra $300 million in personal income taxes without any increase in rates. An additional $400 million in energy income without any firm basis whatsoever. And a slick attempt to throw $225 million of lottery funds into general revenues for the first time ever. Put on that $335 million from AGT, one time only. The debt is $1 billion higher, yet he says the debt servicing will be $75 million lower, Mr. Speaker.
Go figure.
Smoke and mirrors, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Treasurer. My question to the Treasurer is this. Will the Provincial Treasurer explain these projections and tell Albertans why they shouldn't instead regard these as just another billion-dollar bamboozle from billion-dollar debt?
Speaker, I know the results of the balanced budget last night would evoke this kind of response from the Leader of the Opposition. That party does not want to have fiscal responsibility in Alberta. They have made it clear time and time again, and they're the ones that would spend. Mr. Speaker, we have made a commitment to the people of Alberta that we would balance the budget. We set out with a plan in 1986-87 when the deficit was $3.5 billion and the price of oil in July went below $10 a barrel. And now, Mr. Speaker, we have maintained our commitment. We have balanced the budget. We have expanded expenditures in health and education, and we have done it with the lowest taxes of any province in Canada, Mr. Speaker. And that kind of performance makes them mad.
Mr. Speaker, the facts speak for themselves. He was wrong in 87, wrong in 86, wrong in 87, wrong in 89, and no doubt will be wrong in 1990, Mr. Speaker. Billion-dollar dicks, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to zero in specifically on his Alice in Wonderland projections for energy revenue, Mr. Speaker. Given that over the last 4 years, the price of oil has averaged $4 per barrel less than the Treasurer predicts for 1991, and given the rather stagnant state of natural gas prices, will the Treasurer admit that his projections have more to do with politics than they do with reality?
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased that the member from Norwood raised the question of energy prices. The member has unfortunately got his words on record. In June of 1989, Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition said, in his view, the price of oil will be $10 a barrel. $10 a barrel, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Speaker, I draw all members' attention. Mr. Speaker, to the budget document which sets out the world oil price forecast. Mr. Speaker, I admit that 1 out of 4 years we were below the actual real market price. But in 3 out of 4 years, Mr. Speaker, we were below what in fact was the world price. We were right on, Mr. Speaker, right on. Now, the Minister of Energy is going to compliment this answer with respect to energy prices, Mr. Speaker. But I draw the attention to the facts are that we have been very accurate with our oil price analysis. We have drawn upon the experts around the world. We look outside of the boundaries of Alberta and inside of the boundaries to derive our revenue forecast, and we rely on those people who follow the market very carefully. I'd be glad to go on in length about the way in which the forecast is in place. The revenue forecast is sound, Mr. Speaker, but as well, the expenditure forecast for this government's expenditure record by controlling expenditures over the last 5 years at a rate of expansion of about 1.9%, the best expenditure management record of any government in Canada, has allowed us to move to the balanced budget without sacrificing additional income taxes or important...
Here we are. Good. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, if the Treasurer is going to mislead the Assembly, he has to quote Hampshire correctly. And he knows that I said some analysts said $10 a barrel, and he knows that, Mr. Speaker. He knows that. He knows that, Mr. Speaker. Yeah.
I know it's Friday and the wrong team won last night, so let's have the Yeah. Point of order, well taken, yes. The chair is absolutely prejudiced in the matter. Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, back to billion-dollar wrong Dick all the time, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure now he's going to tell us that when he predicted $21 a barrel oil last year, he knew there was going to be a Gulf War. This man is brilliant, Mr. Speaker. Absolutely brilliant, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to ask the Treasurer and ask him to really come clean about this for once, Mr. Speaker, and be honest, and frankly admit that this is a political document with little economic realities, has everything to do with him going into a convention this weekend and Reform having a convention in Saskatoon at the same time. That's what this is all about, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, since the member does raise the question of a convention, I can say that vast numbers of Albertans are coming to this convention, Mr. Speaker, to listen to the kind of message we're giving. And we're not giving away tickets to this event, Mr. Speaker. We're not giving away the tickets. Mr. Speaker, this budget is a carefully crafted document. It's the result of 5 years of planning. We said to the people of Alberta in 1986, when the price of oil dropped dramatically, that we would take a careful, mannered approach to balance the budget. We'd maintain the lowest taxes of any province in Canada, maintain the priority programs, and control it by reducing the expenditures and the size of government and increasing the efficiency. And this plan, which has been presented here, does just that. Speaker, this is the kind of choices that Albertans want governments to make. This is the kind of dedication to a plan that Albertans expect of this government, and these are the kind of results that we're delivering upon today, Mr. Speaker.
Your second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Back to the Treasurer, Mr. Speaker. I do agree that it was carefully crafted, Mr. Speaker.
Got that right.
A carefully crafted political document, Mr. Speaker. That's what it was. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this budget not only reeks of dishonesty, but it is needlessly cruel and heartless, Mr. Speaker. This budget is going to put Albertans out of work, Mr. Speaker. First of all, 800 provincial employees will lose their jobs. And I say to the Treasurer, decimating sort of frontline job creation departments like transportation and utilities, municipal affairs, housing, agriculture, and economic development, guarantee that hundreds, perhaps thousands more will get the axe, Mr. Speaker. These cuts themselves total $386 million, and these are the departments that create jobs, Mr. Speaker, in a recession. I want to ask the Treasurer, and I want to ask him this question then. Could the Treasurer tell us how cutting jobs is going to help the Alberta economy?
Yeah, let's...
Mr.
Speaker, this budget plan does show that the size of the civil service will be reduced. In fact, we have said in this budget that as of today, the size of civil service is below what it was in 1978-79. But we have still maintained the kind of high-level services to Albertans, and we have done it by internal adjustments to increase the efficiency and the administrative effectiveness of the way in which we operate. We told you last year, Mr. Speaker, and to the Albertans that we would do a project-by-project review of the programs. We would look at duplication to see how we can improve the efficiency, and we did just that. And Mr. Speaker, these are FTEs, full-time equivalents, that this budget talks about 800 FTEs. Some of these people, Mr. Speaker, will be given priority opportunities for other jobs in a reorganization, and still further, some have an opportunity to take a special retirement plan should they wish. The numbers, Mr. Speaker, are not anywhere near the 800 that the member talks about. These are full-time equivalents. We control it by dollars, not by positions, and the kind of fear-mongering that I heard from the member of Norwood is just false. This government has had a record of carefully managing the size of its personnel. We have put in place in 1988 an early retirement program which was compassionate and fair, and this program, Mr. Speaker, will have the same kind of tone. Compassionate, honest, and objective, Mr. Speaker.
Word. Compassionate. Smile, Dick, when you say that. Mr. Speaker, talk about efficiency. While they're slashing service jobs, Mr. Speaker, and making sure the unemployment is going to go up, the hypocrisy that goes on, they refuse to tighten their own belt at the top of the ladder. I know there's still 28 cabinet ministers sitting over there, Mr. Speaker, that we don't need. And I noticed the Deputy Minister of Health gets a 10.6% increase. The Solicitor General's Department, a 21.5% increase. And surprise, surprise, the Treasurer's own office budget gets fattened by 9.6%. What hypocrisy, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to ask the Treasurer this. How does the Treasurer justify throwing out frontline workers at the same time they're fattening the top, Mr. Speaker? How do they justify this?
Mr. Speaker, that just isn't the case. As I said, and I want to make it very clear, that the quality of services delivered by this government will not change. In fact, it will probably improve. We have to, as a government, continually assess the way in which we deliver programs. We are not stagnant and dull like the opposition. We are dynamic and moving forward to adjust our programs. And part of that, Mr. Speaker, requires reorganization, and that's what this plan does show. But since the member did talk about unemployment, Mr. Speaker,
Did it right.
since he did talk about unemployment, let me say that up until this morning, Alberta had the lowest unemployment rate in Canada. And that just didn't happen as a matter of coincidence, Mr. Speaker. That was part of the other plan that we have in place. That is the diversification plan. Now, these people don't really like it when we say that our unemployment is the lowest in Canada, that we've effectively generated more jobs, and more people are coming to this province, immigrating here because they want to live in Alberta where the choices are clear, where the opportunities are clear, where the taxes are low. This morning, Mr. Speaker, the unemployment number slipped a bit. We are now second to Saskatchewan. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, over 21,000 people have come to our province to seek an opportunity, to seek real jobs, to seek high-paying opportunities, a place where families, a place where individuals have a right to survive. Not like the kind of command economy you'd expect from the socialists across the way, Mr. Speaker.
Well, the reality is, Mr. Speaker, the reality is that there's 2,000 people more out of work today than there was last month, Mr. Speaker, and it's going to get worse under this government, Mr. Speaker. The point that I want to make about throwing people out of work is going to happen is that it's going to put increased demand on other government programs like social services, reduce tax revenue from these workers, and inevitable extra costs that will come from the erosion of services, Mr. Speaker, that will end up costing the province much more in the future. And I want this Treasurer, again, to come back to the point I made to begin with. Will this Treasurer come clean and admit that throwing Albertans out of work is a desperate attempt to out-right-wing the Reform Party as they go to their convention, Mr. Speaker? This is all about, isn't it?
Speaker, what's wrong with the right wing? Albertans realize that this party forms its own opinions, sticks to its own plan, and decides its own policy. And if you look clearly at what we have done over the past 5 years, we have been exactly consistent on that side, that you have to control the expenditures of any government. You're going to see, Mr. Speaker, over the next few years that the size of government deficit is going to increase more rapidly in other provinces than many people expected. We already saw the size of the Canadian deficit, and that's enough cause of concern for most Canadians. Albertans want a balanced budget. They want us to control the expenditure. We've done just that. Now, the member from Norwood knows full well that he's using very inflamed rhetoric
when he talks about casting people into the streets and doing that sort of thing. That really is unfair, Mr. Speaker. He used the word dishonest. I won't push that, Mr. Speaker, but what we have done here, Mr. Speaker, as I have said, has been a fair response. We are going to provide any people whose job has been changed because of reorganization to have a first choice at another job, Mr. Speaker, within the system. They have a priority opportunity. And still further, Mr. Speaker, we have provided, as we have done in previous years, a very compassionate response to those people who wish to select or opt for an early retirement option by providing special retirement options to those people. Mr. Speaker, we don't know how many people will be affected because with attrition, with other job changes, because the economy is very strong right now and job opportunities abound in Alberta, probably very few people in total will be laid off. This is a statistical number. This is a control number. This is a budget efficiency number, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't relate to people. We're very, very concerned about the people. We have always been compassionate, Mr. Speaker, and we'll continue to maintain the priority of protecting good jobs and good people.
Leader of the Liberal Party. I'm sorry, Honourable Member. I'm sorry, Honourable Minister. I'm sure that all members will try to speed this up. I know it's first day after budget, but very briefly, Minister, Career Development and Employment.
I feel it's only astute of me and at the same time correct an inaccuracy reported by the Honourable Member. There are more Albertans working at this time in the province in the history of 1,245,000, and in actual fact, we have the lowest rate in Canada if you take the unadjusted.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. No, there will not be a supplementary. Edmonton, Glengarry. Edmonton, Glengarry. Edmonton, Glengarry. Order. 7,070.
Mr. Speaker, every budget that the Honourable Treasurer has managed, he has bungled the projections terribly. If you were in the private sector as a financial officer, you would have been long gone. You would have been fired for the kind of work that this treasurer has done. Mr. Speaker, given that the treasurer's neck is way out this time because he's promising a surplus, will the treasurer undertake, after looking at his books a year from now, undertake to resign if the books aren't in balance as he's promising they will be? Let's get this on the record. Backing up with the record.
That's right. I think if anybody's calling for resignations, Mr. Speaker, it'd be the resignation of that member across the way. We know what he has done, Speaker. His performance has been abysmal, and everyone in Alberta knows that.
Shows the confidence that the treasurer has in his own budget. No confidence. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that our treasurer has been telling us time and time and time again is that there's going to be a plan to pay down the huge debt of this province, a plan to pay down the unfunded pension liability. There is no plan in this document, Mr. Treasurer. I want to know why. There's only...
Mr. Speaker, I would be glad to draw the member's attention to the plan. There's the plan, Mr. Speaker. There it is right there. We said, Mr. Speaker, in 1986, when we had a disastrous economic situation, we had a low oil price, we had a severe recession, we had interest rates working against us, we said to the people of Alberta, there's the plan. We will take a deficit of $3.5 billion in over a 5 or so year period. On a conscious and moderate basis, we'll return to a balanced budget. That was the plan, Mr. Speaker. And there's no question that given the backdrop of changes which we experienced on oil and gas, on interest rates, on the recession which impacted in Alberta, that we did have some problem on the revenue forecast side, and the deficit, of course, did increase. But we used a moderate approach. We used the resources of this province to ensure that the quality programs continue to be extended to Albertans, health and education. We may maintain the lowest income taxes of any province in Canada and still did not bring in a retail sales tax. Now, the Liberal opposition across the way would have been taxing you to death. We did the conscious and right thing, Mr. Speaker. We controlled expenditures.
And our record is clear, a 1.9% expansion on average since 1985-86. That's the plan. We've delivered on the plan. The economy is strong, and still we have the lowest taxes of any province in Canada. Now, that's performance, Mr. Speaker. That's the plan, and that is a clear basis for this province.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I think that the Treasurer had his diagram upside down when he was showing it to the members of this Assembly. If this is the plan, if this is your plan to pay down a $10 billion debt and a $9 billion unfunded pension liability, Albertans are really in big trouble. This is no plan. I want to know where the plan is that you promised to bring forward in this budget. Tell us where it is.
Oh, my. He must have been taking those classes on acting as well, Mr. Speaker. The member knows full well that unlike other opposition parties, we take it step by step on a clear and conscious managed basis, Mr. Speaker. The first step was to move the deficit from $3.5 billion down to a balanced budget, step one. And in doing that, we did it over the period. I've already talked about the way in which we gradually reduced the size of our expenditures while maintaining a strong economic profile in Alberta. The next step, Mr. Speaker, as I did say in the budget, is to direct the surpluses to retiring debt. Remember one thing, Mr. Speaker, that this province of Alberta has more assets and liabilities than any other province in Canada. In fact, we're in very, very good shape financially. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, we're the only province in Canada, the only government in Canada, Mr. Speaker, that has a chance to retire its debt. I would say, frankly, Mr. Speaker, a lot of other provinces will never be able to retire their debt. And you can see here that we have a plan to do just that. The next step, Mr. Speaker, is to get after the debt. And we'll do that with the same kind of dedication, the same sort of plan as we have done with respect to balancing this budget this year.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Energy. I'm sure that the Treasurer would rely on the Minister to arrive at a projected price for oil in preparing his budget. Today, the price of oil is about $20. However, the budget tabled last night used $23 to project revenues. Can the Minister give us the basis for this price projection? What basis did he use to assist the Treasurer in arriving at $23 a barrel?
Mr. Speaker, it's very difficult, obviously, to select an oil price. And over the last number of years, we have endeavored to do a forward analysis of what supply and demand balance would be and what economic activity, economic growth would occur in the developed nations. And basically, those are some of the elements that determine the oil price. As the provincial treasurer pointed out yesterday in his budget, 3 out of the last 4 years, he has been conservative, that is under the actual price. And I think that that's very indicative of a conservative approach to oil prices. Although we did have 1 year where we had unforeseen circumstances of prices in the $13 range. Mr. Speaker, we've had there are two recent implications that have an impact on lower prices today. That is that OECD nations accumulated forward stocks in anticipation of a protracted war in the Middle East. Once those forward stocks are depleted, there will be more of a supply-demand picture coming into the equation of prices. The second issue was a warmer than anticipated winter. Prices in this decade, or the temperatures in this decade were warmer last year than any other time. And certainly, we recognize that that has a lower. And this traditionally, Mr. Speaker, is a time of year when prices are soft compared to the balance of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that the Minister realizes that world inventories vary according to world events, and during the last year, we had some wide swings in the price of oil, primarily due to the Gulf War. What factors does the Minister see that will impact on the price of oil, either positively or negatively, during the next 12 years that are contingent on our budget?
Mr. Speaker, with regard to the next 12 months, we certainly recognize that there is no certainty at this particular point in the Persian Gulf. As a matter of fact, there's been uncertainty in the Persian Gulf for the last 3,000 years, and we don't expect that to change in our coming budget year. There is civil strife in Iraq. We still have fires in many of the fields in Kuwait that have taken those fields out of production. We see the possibility of a civil war in the Soviet Union. They have reduced their exports, Mr. Speaker, substantially. Those all will have an impact on prices over the coming year. I should say, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, that I recently did an analysis of the average price for the last 10 years, and that price was $24.77. We're under the last 10-year average, Mr. Speaker. I think that's a conservative approach to oil prices.
Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last night I imagined the Public Works Minister muttering, "Mama don't allow no lottery fund raiding around here." Provincial Treasurer, I don't care what Mama don't allow, I'm going to raid your fund anyhow. Premier said he wouldn't allow any tax increases around here either, but that didn't stop the Provincial Treasurer last night from taking another $200 million out of the pockets of ordinary Albertans in various increases, and only a token increase of $25 million from corporations. Mr. Speaker, given that the provincial treasurer doesn't care what the premier won't allow and is going to raise those taxes any way he can, will he tell us why he's so bent on making Alberta's tax system more unfair every time he does so?
Mr. Speaker, the member knows he's dead wrong. He knows that the facts are clear. As I said in the budget, Mr. Speaker, this province has the best tax record of any government in Canada. Let me simply recite some of the fundamentals, Mr. Speaker. First of all, the budget document table last night shows that the province of Alberta, on the personal basis, has by far the lowest income taxes of any province in Canada. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, we have no retail sales tax. Now, what does that do, Mr. Speaker? That puts valuable dollars back in the pockets of you and I as Albertans to give us the advantage to be able to buy the kinds of goods and services we need. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, it shows up consistently in the retail sales per capita, where Alberta has outstripped other provinces in terms of retail sales per capita. That's why you have a flourishing small business sector. That's why you have more people at work, Mr. Speaker. That's why you have more people coming to this province. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, you have new investment taking place here at a highest level ever seen anywhere in Canada. And that, Mr. Speaker, is why jobs are generated. Now, I don't understand why the opposition party, the socialists across the way, who continue to talk about the necessity for jobs, don't realize that formula. Because it's investment that generates jobs, Mr. Speaker, and that's what we've done. Now, the member also talked about the lottery funds. He talked about the lottery funds, Mr. Speaker. What he said is we shouldn't have used the lottery funds. Well, that is just as inconsistent as ever, Mr. Speaker. One member, the member from Buffalo, sued us to get us to use the lottery funds for general revenue purposes. The opposition party along the way continued to say, get that general revenue fund full of lottery funds, Mr. Speaker. Move the lottery funds in. Well, what we did is this, Mr. Speaker. We took the lottery fund, $225 million. We transferred it to the General Revenue Fund. And we did that for two reasons. Number one, Mr. Speaker, because it does not require increases in taxes, Mr. Speaker. That's a clear choice. Use the lottery funds, no tax increases. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, it still maintains...
Thank you, Honorable. That's what happens with preambles and questions. Have it.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the provincial treasurer had big retail sales taxes in his budget last night. Last year's public accounts, the provincial treasurer wrote off $81 million in an item for corporate taxes that were not collected by the Alberta government. And in his forecast last night, the provincial treasurer admitted he'll not collect $105 million in corporate taxes from this last fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, how can Albertans believe the provincial treasurer that even this token increase in corporate taxes in his budget last night will actually be collected?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that the member is, first of all, accurate on at least one point. That is, we did increase the taxes on large corporations last night by 0.5%. Large corporations are doing very well in this province, Mr. Speaker, doing very well. Very large profits, Mr. Speaker. Their investment intentions are clear, and they like to be here in Alberta. It's a place for large corporations to be. See, for example, the relocation just last year of Trans-Canada Pipelines to Alberta. See the relocation of a variety of other companies coming to this province. And what we didn't do, Mr. Speaker, is increase the small business tax. Small business tax is exactly the same as it was last year because the small business is the core of our economy, generating new jobs, triggering new investment, providing creative intellectual opportunities to manifest themselves in investment, in dollars, and in fact in profits, Mr. Speaker. And that's why the corporate tax increases were there, and that's why, Mr. Speaker, we did not have to increase the personal income tax as the Premier committed to. The last time there was a tax change in this province, Mr. Speaker, guess what? It was a tax reduction.
Calgary Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last night's budget document is a classic example of political propaganda by a provincial comedian who has underestimated budget deficits by $2.7 billion over the last 5 years. The cheers of government backbenchers for the provincial treasurer reminded me of the champagne cork popping when Robert Campo announced that he had successfully taken over Allied stores. Where prudence is called for, we have wishful thinking, and where reality is called, we have wishful thinking in revenues, and where reality is called for, we have trick accounting. And I'm wondering whether the provincial treasurer can tell us by what principle he includes Heritage Fund income as part of his budgetary revenues, but 2 years ago changed his accounting so that he now does not include the capital fund expenditures of $109 million this year as part of the budgetary expenditures. How does that equate?
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure everybody in Alberta is just as confused about that question as I am. And so I can only answer by saying, first of all, that we have a balanced budget, Mr. Speaker, and that's a clear message to Albertans.
Well, maybe we'll have some better luck with the Minister of Energy, who seems to have been called into action already, and I'm going to ask the Minister of Energy whether he might be able to explain the assumptions with respect to natural gas prices and productions, which would justify an estimated increase of $200 million in natural gas revenue in the budget at a time when natural gas prices are under continuing downward pressure and there's no visible increase in production this year.
Mr. Speaker, it's quite simple. If the price is flat, and basically the price regime we're using for this year over last year is flat, if we're getting increased revenues, I'm sure he would learn in grade 4 math that it means we're selling more gas.
Calgary Fish Creek. Calgary Fish Creek.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, on page 9 of the Provincial Treasurer's budget address last evening, we're told that conventional oil production here in Alberta is in decline. Most of the members are aware, I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, that horizontal drilling technology has the potential to improve the productivity of our oil wells here in Alberta. I was therefore encouraged by the Minister of Energy's recent announcement of reduced royalties on horizontal production. And I'm wondering, can the Minister advise the Assembly today what increases we can expect in productivity and drilling as a result of these lower royalties?
Mr. Speaker, the horizontal well program is really in response to something that is on the leading edge of technological advance in the energy industry. And as we know, the province of Alberta, we export our technologies that through advances that are made here in the province. I really see and we believe that horizontal well drilling is really the way of the future. It allows us to drill wells off of target areas, surface target areas that may be in sensitive farmland or parks areas, and still explore for the hydrocarbons underneath. And at the same time, it will increase productivity because the engineering principles associated with horizontal wells will increase substantially the ability for us to recover oil from reservoirs. Many reservoirs, Mr. Speaker, we can only recover 50 to 60% of the production based on vertical wells. Horizontal wells will allow us to increase that by 25 to 30%. We have put in place a two-year program to monitor the horizontal well activity, and we expect that between some 5,000 and 10,000 barrels a day of increased production will occur. It's not a lot in the overall scheme of things when we produce 1.3 million barrels a day, but it is leading-edge technology, and we believe through the next decade it will be the way of the future to increase energy production, oil production in the province without finding many more reservoirs.
Mr. Speaker, as the minister is aware, I'm sure, there are limits, however, on our crude oil production that are regulatory in nature. And I'm wondering, would the minister be prepared to ask the Energy Resources Conservation Board to review their current caps on allowable production and well spacing?
Mr. Speaker, I would indeed be pleased to do that. Along with this program, it would make good sense to approach the ERCB and ask them to review their production allowables and spacing requirements for horizontal wells, because the two do go hand in hand. So I will be asking the ERCB to do just that, and that will be another way in which we can increase production of conventional crude oil without substantially finding new pools. So it will, in fact, have a positive impact in the future on our budgetary revenues.
Edmonton Kingsway.
Hey, Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Treasurer. Every year, the Treasurer finds new and imaginative ways to hide the real deficit of the province when he brings in his budget. And this year was no exception. If you want to check the 1990-91 forecast, you don't look on page 32 where the balance between the revenue and expenditures is. You turn to page 38, and you look at the net cash requirements. And so I wonder if the Treasurer would finally be honest enough to admit that the deficit that he planned for last year, if you take the $1.76 billion here and throw in the Heritage Trust Fund expenditures, that the deficit's going to be $1.9 billion, not the $1 billion that he projected.
Before the Treasurer gets up, I'm sure the Honourable Member will take due care in the future that these compliments or words that are being thrown around can be applied in a generic sense, but when you start applying them to an individual sense to an individual minister, it's completely out of order. Provincial Treasurer.
Mr. Speaker, what the display has been provided, Mr. Speaker, has been on a consistent basis with all other displays that we have given to this Legislative Assembly. The information is very clear. It's presented forthright and in an upfront manner, and it shows the very following facts, Mr. Speaker, that is that this is a balanced budget, that we will have a small surplus of about $33 million, and there are variations, obviously, Mr. Speaker, in terms of cash requirements. In fact, if you look at the numbers, you'll find that there is a variation between the amount of debt outstanding between December 31st and the end of the year, simply because we have cash requirements at various periods which aren't necessarily matched with our cash flow in from various sources. Speaker, all the information's up front. It's a balanced budget. The Heritage Fund will be debated here, Mr. Speaker. The Capital Fund will be debated here, Mr. Speaker, and the General Revenue Fund will be debated here. A full and wide opportunity for all members to participate, to ask questions to members, and to fully understand what was happened. I sure hope the member from Kingsway takes a chance to understand it, because from what I understand now of his comments, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mr. Speaker, the Treasurer doesn't know what he's talking about. I was talking about last year's budget, and he immediately starts talking about this year's budget. Obviously, he's got a guilty conscience. Mr. Speaker, the numbers show that the consolidated deficit for last year will be approximately $1.9 billion, not the $1 billion he said. And when you add that $1.9 billion to the $9.8 billion of accumulated debt of this province, that's $11.7 billion that this province is presently in debt. Well, give me a sense. Mr. Speaker, will the Treasurer admit that that $11.7 billion is just within an inch of even his inflated estimate of what the real assets, the financial assets of the Heritage Trust Fund are?
Speaker, it seems like we're going in circles if I try to understand what the member from Kingsway is saying.
I'll try to reduce it to a very simple form here, Mr. Speaker. What we did is provide our best forecast as to the year-end March 31st, 91. And that shows a deficit, Mr. Speaker, which is above the 780 budgeted number that we forecast a year ago at this time. But still not far off what we think was a realistic number. We think the deficit in 1990-91 will be about $1 billion or so. Now this year, Mr. Speaker, we've gone from that $1 billion amount down to a balanced budget, generating a small surplus of about $33 million. And we have also said in these budget documents that the debt of the province of Alberta, including the General Revenue Fund and the Capital Fund, is about $10.4 billion. And at that point, Mr. Speaker, I can say very clearly that that's our best estimate of what is outstanding at the time the budget is brought down. As I indicated before, the amount of borrowings may change on a day-to-day basis because of the cash flow requirements. However, what we can specifically say is we have balanced the budget. We have not done it with elaborate or expensive tax increases for people. We have maintained the priority in the areas of health and education. Now that we balance the budget, we'll go on to reducing the debt, as I have indicated. That's the next part of this plan. I'd like to be more specific, but we have to get through this year in particular. And finally, Mr. Speaker, finally, as I've said before, Alberta is the only province in Canada with more assets than liability. The only province, Mr. Speaker, and part of that is because of the integral strength given to this province by the Heritage Savings Trust Fund.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stony Plain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judging by last night's budget, Mr. Speaker, farm families never have been and still are not a priority with this government. Farm families have been subjected to brutal spending cuts, including the elimination of the fertilizer rebate program, massive increases in the cost of farm fuels. Since 1986, the rebate on purple gas has been cut from 14 cents to 2 cents per liter. The rebate on purple diesel fuel has been cut from 14 cents to 8 cents per liter. To the Minister of Agriculture, given that Alberta agriculture has forecast a 43% drop in farm income this year, plunging it to near depression levels, and further that many farmers are not able to pay last year's operating costs, how can the minister justify dramatically increasing the input costs via the fuel and fertilizer programs at this time, by cutting those programs off? How can you...
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member seems to be missing some very important points in that budget.
That's right.
I'd also like to review in person some of the mathematics. I'm not sure where his figures are coming from. But I think you've got to remember that particularly with the grain and oilseed sector, we've been assisting by helping with input costs, whereas in the red meat sector, we've moved more to stabilization safety net programs. The point this member is missing is that we have about $50 million new dollars in that budget to cover our share of the revenue insurance option, which for the first time, once it starts paying out next fall, will guarantee a stabilized level of return to that sector of the industry, much like other sectors that have enjoyed. To keep the assistance and input costs during this crop year, the fertilizer program continues until the end of July. There's been a small reduction in the total differential of purple gasoline, but also the honourable member should know that most of the fuel burned in the fields of Alberta is diesel, and we have maintained until next fall, after this crop is off, the 19-cent differential between the farm fuel and the non-farm fuel with fertilizer.
Okay. I'm sorry. Supplementary, I'm sure the minister can work it in there.
I'm sorry I mentioned fertilizer, Mr. Speaker. Just as a clarification to the minister, my figures come from Alberta Agriculture Publications. Now, given that this proposed insurance plan will not begin providing benefits to farmers until this fall, and given that Unifarm president is on record stating that some farmers will not be able to purchase seed this spring, what steps is the government going to take to ensure that the farmers can survive long enough to benefit from the GRIP program?
Mr. Speaker, I have no problem with the honourable member mentioning fertilizer. I just wish he wouldn't spread it.
That's right.
With a little research, the honourable member should also know that the revenue insurance option is a bankable program. If the honourable member would do a little more research, he would know that coming out of the last federal provincial ministers' meeting of agriculture, in view of the fact that provinces have now stepped into participating in the so-called second line of defense, the federal government has assumed responsibility for the third line of defense, and there are some strong indications coming from the Honourable Don Mazinkowski that there will be some further third line of defense programs this spring. But I would remind all members that with a bankable program that is guaranteeing a minimum return either out of the marketplace or out of the program, our farmers have better access to operating money this year, the grain and oilseed sector, than they've had in quite a number of years.
Everton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last night the Treasurer boasted that his government's expenditure management record is the best of any government in Canada, despite the fact that this province continues to have the highest per capita expenditures in the country. Mr. Speaker, I believe that fiscal responsibility should begin at the top. While the minister claims his commitment to cutting costs, as we look at the budget, we see that ministerial office budgets have increased overall by over 4%, one by a whopping 14%. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Treasurer is how can the Treasurer justify imposing a clutch of exorbitant tax increases, health care premiums, gasoline taxes, co-insurance, and so on ordinary Albertans, while at the same time rewarding ministerial colleagues for fiscal incompetence? It seems we've got an inexcusable double standard here.
Speaker, I'm sure the member will notice that in the budget we have set out very carefully how we have contained costs, how we reduced expenditures, how we downsized the government's administration. And in doing that, Mr. Speaker, we focused on hosting and travel, slashed dramatically over the past 5 years, on a variety of other administrative costs, Mr. Speaker, which are part of the government system. These have been reduced, and reduced, Mr. Speaker. That's been the plan. What we have done here, Mr. Speaker, is refocus dollars from within the budget. The budget presentation shows very clearly that we use money from within the budget resources to focus back on the key priority areas of health and education, and to some extent social assistance. That's how we've done it, Mr. Speaker. The graphs speak for themselves, the statistics are clear, and if the member wants to direct his attention to the budget and accounting to Albertans, Mr. Speaker, we have spelled out there how, in fact, that happened, and I want to confirm that, in fact, in the case of health, about a 10% expansion. In the case of education, about a 6% expansion. The case of environment, about 11% expansion. Mr. Speaker, we did that. We did that and still maintain the lowest taxes in Canada because we refocused our expenditures. That's what the people of Alberta wanted, Mr. Speaker, and that's what we gave.
Brief supplementary. We're beyond the end of question period.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans aren't fooled by these comparisons. They see the waste. Mr. Speaker, the minister has made repeated empty promises over the years to bring expenditures under control. Will he now commit to third-party efficiency audits of ministerial offices as a means of setting an example to Albertans? Stop the double standard.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the only double standard is in the minds of the Liberal opposition. We have expanded their expenditure money on the caucus dollars at a very rapid rate, Mr. Speaker. And they were the ones in the Legislative Assembly here asking for raises, Mr. Speaker. They wanted to raise our wages, Mr. Speaker.
They were members, they were part of all of that, Mr. Speaker, so they can't hide behind the veil of innocence here, Mr. Speaker. They were advocating more money for their political agenda, and we were trying to control it, Mr. Speaker.
Dealing with the previous question period, Minister of Energy with response to an issue raised by Calgary Buffalo dealing with Syncrude. Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that yesterday the member for Calgary Buffalo asked the Premier a question relating to a loan provided to the Syncrude partners for the basic engineering and planning for the proposed Syncrude expansion project. Mr. Speaker, that loan was provided for by the government. It was intended to preserve the momentum in research and design work in the event the Syncrude expansion went ahead. As you know, the Syncrude partners have as a priority the development of the Oslo project. Point out to the honourable member, Mr. Speaker, that if the project does go ahead, then the loan is repayable to the provincial government at that time.
Well, I'm wondering what the real question is, why is it that taxpayers of this province should be paying to benefit some of the largest corporations in North America with a loan on which there's an annual $10 million interest benefit and which may not be repayable at a time when these corporations have got record profits from Syncrude? Why shouldn't it be repayable? Why the benefit?
Doesn't make any sense. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Syncrude project has delivered to the province of Alberta $1 billion in revenue. We see this as a modest contribution to promote the expansion of the project in hopes that they could double the return to the province. In addition to the $1 billion we've received, that project will continue on for many years. We hope to improve the efficiency, and certainly their environmental record is strong, but we want to encourage that research and development on the environmental side with regard to the tailings ponds is continued, whether or not the Oslo project goes ahead. So, Mr. Speaker, it was in response to that. 230,000 barrels a day is synthetic crude oil in this province. It's a strong commitment we have to develop our oil sands, and we see this as a way of furthering that along in addressing future revenue opportunities for our provincial government.
Sure, would like to point out that today a certain amount of latitude was allowed by the chair with the length of the preambles and the length of the answers because of the importance of the budget document as brought down last evening. But I'm sure starting Monday that we can all shorten our preambles and the answers in great degree, because unfortunately, while we have been making good progress in question period, most days, on this day, we have left 7 members standing in the wings. Orders of the day, might we revert...
agencies within the Department of Family and Social Services have or soon will be cut. One major concern that has not been dealt with is how much added responsibility and stress the department is planning to dump on the already overburdened frontline child welfare worker who is unlikely to be trained to deal with child sexual abuse. My question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Minister of Family and Social Services. Will the minister confirm to this House that his department will be cutting, Mr. Speaker, the hours of operation to the 24-hour Child Welfare Crisis Unit, a move that will force clients in crisis...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Whoa, you got the question in. Honourable Minister.
No, Mr. Speaker, we aren't cutting the 24-hour crisis line.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the minister then confirm that he has instructed his department to disband the Child Welfare Consultation Unit, which is the unit frontline workers rely upon for support in more complex cases?
Mr. Speaker, what we are doing is making every effort that we can to make sure that the frontline resources are just there on the front lines, there to respond to the families and children that are in need. And as the member for Edmonton Gold Bar knows, that we as a government and we as a department have made that a very high priority, and we're focusing those resources on the front line, and we're going to continue to do that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Time for question period has expired. The chair wishes to thank the cooperation of members on both sides of the House. We've finally been able to get many more members involved in question period. Before we go to, first, orders of, no, hold it. Before we go on to the rest of our routine, order, please. Chair, appreciate your comments, flip as they are and humorous as they often are, but perhaps on a one-to-one basis, Honourable Member. Might we have unanimous consent of the House to revert briefly to the introduction of special guests? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Member for Clover Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Assembly 55 visitors from the constituency of Clover Bar. I'd like to welcome our students from the Fort Saskatchewan Elementary School, who are accompanied today by Mr. Alexandruk, Mrs. Clark, Mrs. DeRegio, Mrs. Holland, Mrs. Fisher, Mrs. Katcher, Mrs. Paxton, Mrs. Barley, Mrs. Peltonen, Mrs. Hale, and Mr. Lavidiere. Our guests are seated in the public gallery. I would ask them now to rise, and I would ask the House to extend our traditional warm welcome.
Standing Order 30 request, Member for Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to a request that we adjourn the business of the Assembly to deal with the critical financial situation affecting women's shelters. Mr. Speaker, if I can speak briefly to the urgency of the matter.
Order. With due respect, at last report, the chair was here, not over there. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps the Honourable Minister believes this is an acceptable situation. I don't know. Mr. Speaker, family violence is gaining on us. We're losing ground here. The Solicitor General attested to this morning. There are many people in our province that are caught up in this tragedy. The incidence is increasing. The circumstances, Mr. Speaker, in shelters are critical. We're in a crisis and emergency situation in many of our communities. Mr. Speaker, 5,376 families were turned away last year. 3 women or children were turned away for every one sheltered. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about women and children who are every day beaten and abused in their own homes and for whom there may be no refuge or shelter in our province. Mr. Speaker, there are 3 questions that I believe we need to have answered today. Does the government believe this is a crisis? Because I do, and I believe our communities do. Does the government believe that this situation is an acceptable one and should be allowed to continue as we are doing? And the third one, and most important, Mr. Speaker, is will the government commit to addressing this intolerable situation immediately to resolve the problem?
official opposition. Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in the context of information that was mainly not revealed by government ministers this morning, I can certainly attest to the need for this kind of debate, Mr. Speaker, and also the need for a lot more information and a commitment by the government to make sure that 2 out of 3 applicants, that is 2 out of 3 battered women, are not turned away from shelters. This is not a lighthearted issue. It's a serious problem. We also learned this morning, Mr. Speaker, that the government is not prepared to put more money into the treatment of batterers, which means that the problem is going to get worse. Those are the facts, Mr. Speaker. I believe that this subject has been hidden from public view for many years. It's been almost taboo to talk about. In the last few years, Mr. Speaker, the opposition has made this an issue that needs to be talked about and needs the address of the government itself in a concerted fashion. There are a lot of women who are suffering, Mr. Speaker, and a lot of children that are suffering at the hands of those who say they love them. I think we need to make this a top priority issue and get some active resolutions under consideration. And I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues. Thank you.
Government House Leader.
Sure, just the opportunity for debate exists on this subject exists today. This matter was mentioned in the speech from the throne. The honourable member wants to debate it today, and the whole point of a Standing Order 30 motion is that there is no other opportunity for debate. Debate can take place today. It's clearly, despite the fact that it is a serious issue, something that this Assembly can debate today in the throne speech debate. On the other hand, I note we'll shortly be dealing with a request by the leader of her party to abandon throne speech debate. Very puzzling.
Thank you. Under the provisions of Standing Order 30, the Chair has listened to representatives from each caucus speak. The Chair has also had opportunity, having received the notice, to have research done with respect to previous occasions when early in a sitting that similar requests have been made. The Chair would point out, however, that the issue is being dealt with because of the opportunity for debate. It is not being dealt with because of the sensitivity of the issue and the whole matter of women's shelters in particular. However, the House on March the 15th of 1985 and again on April the 4th of 1986, March the 21st of 1980, similar situations arose. And to quote Speaker Amarongan from April the 4th, 1986, very briefly, and I quote, "I'm not aware of any precedent in the long history of Canadian parliaments where a motion or a proposal of this kind has been found to be in order early in the throne speech debate. And here we are not only early in the debate, we haven't even started it yet. And under the circumstances, I think it would be wrong to establish as a precedent that this kind of motion should be made in the early stages of the throne speech debate or even before it starts. And I am therefore obliged to say that the motion may not be put." End of quote, and the Chair concurs with my illustrious predecessor. First request under Standing Order 40, the member for Rocky Mountain House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The motion that I'm seeking unanimous consent for today is that the Legislative Assembly of Alberta recognize and extend congratulations regarding the world-class athletic achievements of Mr. Kurt Browning, three-time world figure skating champion, and the rink of Kevin Martin, winner of the 1991 Canada Labatt's Brier. Mr. Speaker, Kurt Browning's gold medal performance yesterday at the Men's World Figure Skating Championship in Munich, Germany, is an athletic achievement that all Albertans can be truly proud of. In his performance last night, Kurt completed 3 triple combination jumps, a feat that has never been done before in competition. Even though he did not use his famous quad yesterday, I must mention he is the only person to use it successfully in competition. The win marks the 3rd time in a row he has won the World Championship. No Canadian has ever achieved such a high level of accomplishment in this field. Kurt is a native of Caroline, Alberta, where his family still lives. He began his career in the Rocky Mountain House Figure Skating Club before he moved to Edmonton to practice with his coach, Michael Jaranek, at the Royal Glenora Club. Kurt is preparing now to represent the province and Canada at the 1992 Olympics in Albertville, France. Mr. Speaker, he is truly an outstanding ambassador for Canada. The second athletic achievement that should be recognized by the Legislative Assembly is the rink of Kevin Martin, who took first place at the Labatt-Brier Curling Championship in Hamilton, Ontario. This team consists of Kevin Martin skip, Kevin Park third, Dan Petriak second, and lead Don Bartlett. Martin's rink will now advance to the World Curling Championship in Winnipeg later this month and will also represent Canada in the 1992 Winter Olympics. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Legislative Assembly congratulate these Alberta athletes and recognize their outstanding contribution to the world sporting community.
Everton Calder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As chair of the official opposition caucus, it is my pleasure on behalf of my colleagues to extend our congratulations to Mr. Kurt Browning in his winning of the men's world figure skating title for a 3rd time, and to Mr. Kevin Martin, winner of the 1991 Canadian Labatt-Brier. These are very talented Albertans and are certainly an inspiration to all of us, and so it is with a great deal of pride that I offer our congratulations on behalf of my colleagues. We'd also like to wish Mr. Martin and his team the best of luck in the World Curling Championship.
Thank you, honorable members. The chair is engaged in the midst of a flurry of notes here and has inadvertently allowed certain matters to proceed. The last speaker should not have spoken just yet. But if indeed the unanimous consent of the House is given to proceed, those comments will then, of course, have been in the record. All those in favor of granting unanimous consent for the matter to proceed, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. The matter is carried. Thank you for your comments. Edmonton Calder, the chair recognizes the member for Edmonton Goldbar. Edmonton Whiteman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to say that on behalf of our caucus, we're prepared to support the motion that has been put forward. It's an extremely good motion that recognizes again that talent that keeps emerging out of Alberta, all parts of Alberta. Kurt Browning, of course, is from the... Kurt Browning, of course, even though he trains here in Edmonton at the Royal Glenora Club, here in Edmonton, the city of champions.
All right.
His homeland is, in fact, in Caroline, Alberta. So again, on behalf of our caucus, we're proud to support the motion.
Call for the question. All those in favor of the motion as proposed by the member for Rocky Mountain House, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let the record show unanimously, and the chair will communicate in the usual fashion. Thank you. The leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, the call for reform, parliamentary reform amongst Albertans is loud. Yesterday I spoke at a symposium of the social sciences faculty at the University of Calgary, and most of the questions and most of the concern was with respect to the issue of reform. The motion that I am proposing and asking for members to consider today is to deal expeditiously with the debate on the speech from the throne. Mr. Speaker, I believe that this is an area in dire need of reform. I believe that this is an anachronism. We have the possibility of some 10 days being allocated to speak on all sorts of things, which denies time to MLAs, particularly opposition MLAs and backbench MLAs, in dealing with private members' bills and resolutions. I'd like to see accountability. I'd like to see if the Freedom of Information Act is a good idea or a bad idea for it to be actually voted on. And that kind of reform is needed, and time is needed to allow that to happen. And this motion calls for the debate on this document to end quickly and to allow us to get into the business, the pressing business of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, I looked into Beauchesne, and the definition therein contained for a speech from the throne is summarized very clearly. It is that the speech sets out the causes for summoning MLAs. Causes, to me, presumes problems that exist, the challenges that have to be met, plans that have to be put forward. That wasn't done in the speech from the throne. It is a fluffy document that doesn't provide plans and challenges and action. I think it's important to get to the plans, to get to the action, to get to the bills, and I'm asking that members of this assembly start moving on reform, and this is a good basis to do it.
There's a request under Standing Order 40. Those in favor of granting unanimous consent for the matter to proceed, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. No. The matter fails. Orders of the day.